Hello, everyone. So, we have these rumors flying around about the future of Studio Series, especially with the potential of the High Moon video game designs being added in, which would blow the restrictions on Studio Series wide open and essentially turn it into its own version of Generations, basically doing whatever it wanted to do based solely on did it come from a studio of any kind? Then we're making it in Studio Series. So, who knows what it is going to be like, but as we are now branching out away from the live action movies, I kind of have to ask the question, what about everything, what about all of the characters from the movies that haven't gotten toys in Studio Series yet? So this is going to be a rundown of literally everyone I could find who has not gotten a toy. Now, there are rules to this. Number one, I know there are rumors of toys coming out, and there are listings of toys coming out, including the guy on screen right now. And I'm just including this to be as accurate and up to date as I can. I'm trying to include as many names as I can justify being in here. As of August 2022, for those watching the video late, these are the characters who don't have toys. And I am trying to avoid anyone who is just, like a rehash model or a recolor or like a crowd filler background character, etc. So like the weird two-headed shockwave thing we saw in one of the movies, that's not in this list. We're trying to keep it to ones who are actual characters, actual vehicle modes, things that we could feasibly make a toy out of. And yeah, the Fallen is probably the biggest character that does not have any kind of toy representation so far in Studio Series, which is a weird thing. It's a pretty major thing to leave the main villain of one of the movies completely out of the line. So that's how we start the list. You've stared at the Fallen long enough. Let's move on, and we'll keep going through it. There are ones that are literally impossible. We are definitely not getting toy of Reed Man, for instance. It's just, who would want one? And I know someone out there went like, that's a super creepy design I'm way into. I want it. It's literally a one-dimensional transformer in character and in physical design. So Reed Man's not happening, but, it is a character. It doesn't have a name. Scalpel, I do not see happening. Just too small. Just way too small to make a feasible figure out of. And when they made a figure out of Scalpel, oh boy, it was a problematic thing. I gotta talk about that toy at length at some point here. But yeah, despite being a named character with a transformation on screen and having voice lines, it checks all three bases, I don't foresee Scalpel actually getting any kind of representation in toy form in Studio Series. I'm adding him in the list because it is technically a character without a toy. We don't have one of Alice, the Pretender from the movie. This is, again, one that we're definitely not going to get. Maybe a minifigure if they do some kind of Sam Witwicky figurine or something. But we're definitely not going to get any kind of transforming figure because it's kind of a fake transformation. You can't really turn that into a perfect-looking human without taking the full Pretender shell approach, which I don't see Hasbro going back to anytime soon. What about Q? I think I saw Q on some of the rumor lists. I could be wrong. It's so hard to keep the rumors straight these days. But regardless, we do not have a Q/Wheeljack, whichever one you want to call him. He was always such a nothing character to me. He basically showed up, said, I'm the smart one, and then the next time we saw him, he was getting executed in the middle of Chicago. It's not the most memorable character of them all, but it's, again, voice acted, named, and we have an alt mode for it, so it checks all the bases for why is there not a toy? Though this one I think is on the way. Don't quote me, don't count on that. Brains. Now there are a few here. They have figurines. They don't have solid transforming figures themselves, but they are included in Studio Series technically as accessories to larger figures, Brains being one of them. It's something that I feel like Core Class now could handle. I mean, it's it'd be pretty large for considering brains is supposed to be like, the size of a human laptop, essentially. But, I think you can get away with a little bit of weird scaling in that studio. Hey, I mean, they did Bumblebee Shockwave at that size class. Do you really think they're going to be really concerned about scaling on that particular price point? I think you can get away with it. DevCon. So this is a crowd shot Decepticon, admittedly, but it's one with a completely unique design, an alt mode, and a name. And I love this design. Anytime someone gets on me for hating Demolishor because, oh, you just don't like it because it looks different. No, I like different. I really like this different. These like mantis monster proportions. This, I think, is super cool. I would love a figure of this one. And again, like I said, like it stands out. It is a very different type of Transformer and a very different style to it. Again, it's a crowd shot character from the third movie, but it's got, let's be honest, Studio Series has done characters that had less going for them, right? We admit this. Hatchet. So yeah, Dirtbag on the little image here, but Hatchet was the final name it was given. This is the missing Dread. We've gotten the other two, but we are still missing this one, which is weird because it's the unique Dread. It's the quadruped that turned into a jet, which actually made for like a really cool Cyberverse toy back when Cyberverse was just like a size class of Transformer. But it's weird to me that he's been missing for this long, especially because we've had jet figures. I mean, it'd be a laugh to try and remold one into this, but I could see them do it. I've seen Hasbro do it with less. I kind of want Hatchet again. Again, unique designs. This gets to me. There's also a weird section that we have to include here, and that is characters from the fourth and fifth movie. Fifth movie especially. We do not have a Studio Series Hound yet, and I feel like it is because it ran up against the Last Night toy line, which was trying to sell itself as a premium toy line, and I feel like it was like the beginnings of what Studio Series was going to end up becoming. I feel like they felt the boxes were checked on a lot of those characters from the fifth movie, and Hound being one of them. Now, I really hate the fifth movie, and I'm not big on the fourth movie, but I do like Hound. I liked Hound as a character and overall as a design. I would love to see them take this one on again. I mean, this is one I feel like will happen eventually. Some on this list I can definitely see they're never making Remand. They're never making Alice. I could definitely see a Hound. Makes a better bulkhead than a Hound, though, let's be honest. Crosshairs is another one. I wouldn't be surprised if this one was on a leak list somewhere that I haven't even seen yet, because, again, prominent character. I don't like the character. I think he's just too much of a prick. But you know what? Okay, fine. Credit where credit's due. It's a prominent character that doesn't have a Studio Series toy as of yet, so still waiting on him, and I know he's got fans out there. Let's talk Dinobots, though. Like, if we're going to talk about weird omissions in Studio Series, we have to talk about the live-action Dinobots, because we got Grimlock at the leader class, and it's like the biggest leader class we've had in... I think it was the last figure that was like a properly huge leader class. Everything else after this has been smaller, or they've been Voyager Plus. I feel like Grimlock was like the last bastion of like gigantic leader figures. So what happened to Scorn? What happened to Slug? What happened to Strafe? I would really love another shot, even if these just ended up being Voyagers or something. I love some more of these Dinobots. The Grimlock came out so good, and the color treatment and the palette they painted on him, and all the weathering effect that they did across his entire body is super impressive at a mass production level. I would love to see some more Dinobots in that range, and it looks like we've foregone all of the movie Dinobots in favor of the Studio Series 86 run, which I can't really disagree with. They're far more prominent characters, but this is an injustice. This is an injustice to the live-action Dinobots, who are actually kind of cool looking. I would want more. Here's a weird one. Hot Rod does have a Studio Series figure. It's a retool of the Bumblebee figure that was done based on his World War II look, which wasn't his accurate World War II look, by the way, if we're actually paying attention. So Hot Rod himself does not have a unique Studio Series figure. He didn't really have a unique figure in the original Last Night run either. He was a heavily retooled Lockdown, which meant his robot mode was not nearly as accurate as I would have liked it to be. I want Studio Series to give it a shot, because I actually do like this design. I would actually be in favor of this. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as clean as it is here. It's going to have shell and kibble hanging off the back. No avoiding that with this design, but it's kind of unfair. And it's weird that any kind of like major character name like Hot Rod has not been done when they have the opportunity. That part alone is a little bit odd to me. Squeaks does not need a new toy. Let's be honest here. Even if you do this at core class just for the sake of getting like a Squeaks toy out and in your lineup, no. Squeaks doesn't need a new toy. We can move on from there. How about a left field choice like Canopy? Again, we have a name, we have a voice, we have like a somewhat significant role. Like it's a pretty meaningful early scene to really show where the relationship between human and Transformer is, where even an Autobot who is completely defenseless and only trying to protect younger Autobots and children is mercilessly gunned down. It's really, it's a really sad scene. It really is. And it's one of the reasons why I hate the later live action movies, because I don't like seeing the good guys treated like bad guys. It's not a fun scene, but it does make the character memorable. I don't know what he turned into. I think the early samples had him turning into, I want to say a subway train. I want to say that. I have no idea though. I have no idea. But needless, I think it's a nice like left field addition, I think. What about Bulldog? All of those like decrepit World War II Transformers that were hanging out in England. There's a lot of unique designs to be had there and a lot of fun ones. And things that would turn into interesting vehicle modes. Now, I don't think this one is particularly possible. I don't think you could get away with breaking up treads in 4 directions on each leg like this. But it could be different. It could be interesting. There actually really isn't a whole lot of like military design in Studio Series outside of like a few of the early Decepticons. So it wouldn't be bad to add in a little bit more, I feel. So I think there's a place for it. All right, more weirdness from the later movies. So Last Night featured all of these new Decepticons. They were either completely new toolings. I'm talking like they're toys already. They were either completely new character models or they were heavily modified models from older characters. And they're all named and like very prominently named. Mohawk being the outstanding one, I think. This one I could definitely see as a core class at some point, if they can figure out how to get the transformation simple enough to fit in that price point. And yeah, it's a unique design. This little frog-headed guy. I would be down for this. Okay, what about Onslaught? Now, technically, yes, this breaks the rule a little bit because it's a heavily modified long haul. But I think it's modified enough. And again, it is a character who was like put right out there in the forefront with a new name and like some significance to him. So I kind of feel like we can get away with this one. Also, the alt mode is radically different as a tow truck instead of a dump truck. I would be in favor of this one actually getting it. And we've got we've got an existing long haul toy. Like, this is not terribly out of the range of imagination to see them doing this at some point. Dreadbot is again another reused design, but one that is more prominent, is given a name, given a more prominent position in a movie, and has no actual modern toy. So we can include him in the list. We can also include the second iteration of Barricade, the blue design from The Last Night. I know a lot of people who prefer this one over the original, even though I feel like the original one has gained a level of iconography that we're never going to get away from. It's just, he's always going to be that particular design from now on, right? So this one, I can imagine getting one more figure of, but beyond that, I think it's going to be just like to punish and enslave the black and white police car forevermore after that. Nitro Zeus. Now, again, it's a figure that was done in The Last Night's toy line, and I really feel like there's not a whole lot you could do to improve on it. It was actually a really solid figure. I think Studio Series would pretty much just have to maybe retool it and include a few extra accessories, like his chains, for instance. And that's really all I would expect out of him. I mean, yeah, as long as that figure is still viable at that price point, go ahead, do it. Talk about prominent with no new toy. Frenzy. I don't even think the last run of Barricades included him as the Soundwave gimmick, because they were trying to prioritize getting the toy to be good rather than cram this little minifigure gimmick in, which is kind of a shame. However, it does mean we have room for including him in the core class line as one of the smaller things that he transformed into. So if they can figure out how to turn him into that stereo and not give him like the weird proportions or like make him too chunky, I would think I think he is like long overdue. Because he's a super prominent character in the first movie. Another prominent one that has been skipped over, Wheelie, again, has a minifigure that came with the big leader class Shockwave, but we're lacking a modern transforming one. So again, this is one where core class would really come in handy. He'd be way too big considering what he turns into, but I think you could get away with it. How about Day Trader? I remember this was the point where Hasbro really started getting low on the budgets, and they started really getting down on how much they were spending on each toy. So when they came, and I made the joke, like when they came out with Day Trader and they showed that big vehicle mode with this massive pile of junk sticking out the back, and like, this is the movie's response to Hasbro going, make figures with, make designs with less colors and details. We want to keep the budget down. And then they put this guy out. I would laugh a lot. I mean, it's a nothing character. Voice lines, name, etc., alt mode, okay, we have all that. But it'd be a ridiculous toy. And it kind of makes me want it, honestly. Okay, I believe we're at the end of the list here, which means we have one elephant in the room we have to talk about. Talk about prominent characters. The second movie was basically about these two. Skids and Mudflap, I don't think is ever going to see the light of day. Even the designs people like the ice cream truck that splits, even that I do not think is ever going to see the light. I think there's just way too much of a stigma on these two. And yeah, I am among them that find that their depiction is stereotypical at best and racist at worst. And you can come up with storyline justifications for it. It's just it's a type of Earth culture they liked, so they adapted to it. At the end of the day, someone wrote it, someone signed off on it, and nobody at any point said, maybe this is in poor taste. They just went with it, and everyone along the line was cool with it. That's what upsets me. The fact that they are this obviously bad, but at some point, and everyone down the line who produced Revenge of the Fallen said, yeah, this is okay. That's where my offense comes from. I don't think these are ever going to be seen again. Not with how bad the fan backlash was. Not with the public backlash. Like even outside the Transformers fandom. The backlash against these two I think is just too extreme. And I don't think you're going to get any, obviously you're going to get supporters, but I don't think you're going to get anyone championing, like, these have to be in Studio Series. It is a major, major hole to leave in the roster, yes. But I think it's a hole that is better left covered up and buried and packed tight and then concreted over, put a parking lot on top of the hole, and never speak of the hole again. Right? So, that is my list. Obviously, there are a few left out here. I didn't mention, like, Demolishor, which is just like a simple repaint of Scavenger, things like that. There's also characters like Trench, who is an Autobot construction vehicle, but it's just Scrapper. It's just Scrapper, but he's called an Autobot. So, with those exclusions, those like random off crowd fillers and reused models, this is everything I have. So keep on the lookout. I'm sure a lot of these will hit Studio Series before that line is done. And then when the line finally does come to an end one of these days, look back on this video and see just how many boxes were left unchecked and how many characters they never really got around to. Because, you know, inevitably, there's going to be a few that never made the cut. So, thank you for watching. I hope this sated some curiosity out there. And stay tuned. Always more videos coming up. And hopefully, I will see you tomorrow. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.